Most of all, I like what Jute offers Cairns and the region and the world, and I like the fact that, for me, theatre's transformative, so that's what I'm really interested in.
I'd like to introduce you to two women who keep Jute on track. It's their job to make sure Jute is ticking all the right boxes and doing all of the right things. It's a big job, and guess what? They do it for love. They are volunteers on the Jute board. Jill Townsend, hello.
Hi, Fiona.
And Sangeetha Bhatia, hello.
Hi, Fiona.
Thank you so much for chatting with me today about an incredible creative force that you both obviously love. Jill, I might start with you. Just paint us a picture of the role of the board member. What do you actually do?
I think the board's role is to steer the vision and policy and direction of the company. As you said, make sure all the boxes are ticked, but it's more than that. It's having a vision for the company for the future, and looking at what's happening day to day, and supporting the artistic vision. So we're not artists, but we're there to support the artistic vision and the intent of Jute as a theatre company.
So it's your way to be involved in the arts community?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm good behind the scenes. It's my way to be involved in something creative, and so I'm good at chairing meetings, so that's what I do.
You've been a board member, or you've been the chair now for 9 years?
Yeah, yeah.
So what keeps you here? What keeps you coming back year after year?
I want to see what the next story is, and I want to see where Jute is in the future, and I'm committed to a long-term future for Jute, and I enjoy it. I enjoy my colleagues on the board. I enjoy working with Sue Ellen and the creative team at Jute, and most of all, I like what Jute offers Cairns and the region and the world, and I like the fact that, for me, theatre's transformative, so that's what I'm really interested in.
We'll come back to that idea in a moment. But Sangeetha, you are the newest member of the board. What drew you to Jute?
It was a couple of things. The first year I was involved in Jute, I was a board observer for a year before being appointed at the end of last year as a member of the board. And I had a lot of governance roles during university. I was involved in the Student Law Society, and I was sort of looking for a similar way to give back after I started working full-time in Cairns. I also have a family that has been involved in Indian theatre in a lot of ways, and I have as well growing up. So Jute was sort of the perfect combination of an opportunity to learn what it was like to be a member of a company board, but also to sort of satisfy those sorts of interests I had in the arts and in theatre.
Do you have a favourite Jute show?
It's a really hard question. I've seen quite a few now, and they're all so different, so it's really hard to compare them. I think one of my favourites has definitely been Campfire to Stage Light, which was Jute's most recent production that was part of the Cairns Indigenous Art Fair. And it was sort of a one-man show, and I was just blown away by David Hudson's ability to sort of take up the entire stage, and also just to hear his life story and all the amazing things he's done. So that's definitely been one of my favourites.
What about you, Jill?
Oh, like you say, it's really hard.
It is.
I think my favourite is Constant Drinkwater and the Final Days of Somerset.
Yeah.
I like my plays dark, and it's deeply historical, and it tells layers of stories that we don't usually hear about our region. So I think that's probably my favourite.
Well, I want to come back to that idea of transformative theatre. What does that mean for you?
I think for me, theatre touches people's hearts and souls. Every show is different and people respond differently. Every night is different. And for me, it shines a light on the things we might think about, ideas we might have. It can be provocative. It can take us to parts that we might not usually want to go to. It can be celebratory, and it can celebrate the human spirit. So for me, the transformative nature of theatre is how it transforms us as individuals and how it transforms us as a community. Because one of the things you touched on is that theatre is a collaborative art. So it's never one person's show. We always see the performer, but it's everybody working together, and the hours that go into making theatre and the development. And that's the part of Jute that I think is really essential in our region, the development and the growth and the new work that we do.
Yeah, that's what I love about Jute as well, that taking of someone who's never written a play in their life, but they've got this great idea, and Jute will work with them and create something that it does end up on the stage. Sangeetha, for you, that idea of transformative theatre, what does it mean to you?
I think I love seeing stories on stage, and I love finding out about other people's stories and other people's lives. But I also have loved some of the familiarity that comes with theatre and hearing stories that you can relate to. And I think that doesn't necessarily mean seeing something on stage that's exactly been your experience. But for example, La Bella Figura last year, sort of about the Italian migrant story in Cairns. There was a lot of things in that show that I could relate to just from my own background. And I was really surprised by how much I connected to that show because of those similar experiences that I've had. And I think for people who have a similar connection to the shows that they see that Jute put on, that it's a really amazing thing, an amazing experience to go through. So that's sort of the side of theatre that I really love.
I think that you touched on there that theatre helps us to see ourselves and others differently. That's what's really powerful about theatre.
Definitely. Why do you think Cairns, Far North Queensland, Australia needs a theatre company like Jute?
I think Jute is of Cairns. I think it grew from Cairns. I think Cairns has ability for diverse and interesting stories. People can create amazing things in Cairns. So I think Jute and Cairns are almost symbiotic in a way. Why does Cairns need Jute? Because we need to keep hearing the different stories. There are many different angles of life for us to look at and think about. And it's not about other stories that come in. We want to tell the stories that come from our area. So I think as Cairns grows and develops and shifts shapes as it does, it needs Jute more than ever.
Sangeetha?
I think Jute's really important in Cairns because it does showcase the diversity there is in Cairns. I think when you walk around, you don't necessarily see that, but there are so many different stories to tell, and there are so many people who've come from all walks of life and all over the world. And I know I've been surprised by how many different voices Jute gives a platform to. And I think that's why it's really important, is because you wouldn't otherwise know or realise that Cairns has that many different stories to tell.
And I have a friend who travels regularly from Brisbane to Cairns to see Jute shows, and she says the standard of the shows and the creativity in the shows beats anything that she sees anywhere else.
Wow, that's fantastic to hear. Yeah, Jute's been going for 30 years. Which is phenomenal, when you think about how Jute started. How do you see the future for this theatre company, Sangeetha?
I think there are although Jute's been around in Cairns for 30 years, which is a really long time, one of the things I love the most about Jute is that I feel like it's always thinking about new opportunities and how it can do things better, and how it can connect with more people in the Cairns community. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for Jute to grow, and a lot of opportunities for Jute to become probably a mentor for other developing artists and companies. And I think outside of the theatre that it produces, it also takes on that sort of mentoring role as well, and it has a lot of opportunities to grow in that space in Far North Queensland, not just in Cairns.
Yeah. And I'd probably go from that. I think one of Jute's the excellent things that we do is partnerships and relationship building and bringing different people together around ideas. So it's more than the theatre company, it's about what we offer to the community and the community at large. So I think there's no bounds for Duke, really. At the same time, it's about us really staying strong to telling really powerful stories and stories that we need to hear.
Well, as board members, do you ever have the opportunity to sort of throw your hat in and say, I think we should do this one, or I think we should look at this playwright? Do you have the opportunity to sort of get involved in that kind of thing?
Look, as a chair, I would always open for the board for ideas, but at the end of the day, we're not the artistic director. And so we might have some amusing ideas, but at the end of the day, it's the artistic director who makes the call.
Mm. Well, Jill, you've been involved for a long time. Sangeetha, you've just started. You've got a few more years in you being involved with Jude?
I think so. Like I say, the stories don't stop, and I've still got the same passion for the company, and I've got an amazing board that I'm working with. So, yeah, for the near future.
So what would you say to someone who hasn't been to a Jude show, lives in Far North Queensland? What would be your message?
Probably we go in with an open mind, and I think you'll be surprised by the quality of the work and the things that you find out in the show.
Yeah, I'd say buy a ticket for the next show that's on. So there's a show on right now. Buy a ticket and come along.
Getting quick.
Yeah, not so much about the ticket thing, but that the theatre is only on once. Yeah. And so when it's gone, and you can't say, oh, I missed that. So I think it's really important. What I'd say to somebody is commit to come see every show for a year, because every show is completely different, and we'd love to hear what you think.
That's great. Thank you both so much for joining me on the couch to talk about your love of Jude and why you support it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Fiona.
Thank you.
So that's Jill Townsend and Sangeetha Bhatia, who are both members of the Jute board, and they're there because they believe in what this theatre company is doing.